All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to FCI Live 2026 again. This is From Vision to Viability, applying the business concept with Allanah Hines from National Co-op Grocers Development Corp. And I hope you all are ready to go. If you were in our session earlier today on business concept, this is going to build from that. Super excited about this session. So before we go ahead and get into it, we are going to first just thank all of the people who really, some of the people who help us make this possible. Some of us make it possible by jumping in front of the camera and sharing wisdom, and some by making sure that everybody has access by funding the series. So thank you to our champion sponsors, Frontier Co-op, Cabot Creamery Co-op, and National Co-op Grocers. We deeply, deeply appreciate you guys. All right. So in just a second here, I'm going to stop my slide. I'm going to turn this over to Lana. I'm going to give her a second to load her slides. But we are so excited about this as those of you who've been following it all, what's been going on with the framework, the development of the food co-op development framework. The business concept is one of the newest concepts that was presented in there. And so we saw earlier today, or if you're watching this on video, go find the video with Heather Lazikas and James Morrell on the people who developed that concept with us. And then this is the first time that we have another cooperator coming in and saying, this concept, I'm going to build a tool for that. I'm going to take it and go even further, which is what we want to see happen with the framework. So excited about this. And I'm going to turn it over to Alana.
All right. Are you able to see my screen? Fantastic. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching, for being a part of this. I will say I am very, very excited. I just downloaded into JQ all of my excitement for this particular conversation and this model. And also that FCI Live is having a day, really, of talking about the business concept. So to jump into it, I will say this will be more conversational than, well, I guess the end of my other session was pretty conversational, but this will be pretty conversational. And I'm going to walk you through a lot of the whys and also just where this came. So in kind of large vision, a lot of this with just kind of being in the startup world and looking at what are the gaps, how can we help people, what can we do that's actually going to move people from one stage to another with the clearest path that we can create. So I know myself, my manager, Dr. Goodwin, got kind of stuck in what's people's why when you get very excited or when you get really kind of stuck. What's your why? Pulling back to what's the reason you're even doing this work? So it was really important not just to ask organizers, why are you doing this? Because that's the same as saying, when the job gets hard, why are you working? Because I need money, because I like to pay my bills. I like my lights to turn on when I hit the switch. But really pulling it back to when things get hard, why are you doing this? Why are you doing the thing? So with that, we created a tool that I'm excited to share with you today. I'm going to share kind of the development of the tool, and then I'll also share how you can gain access to it. So let's jump in. A little about me. I work with the development cooperative of the DC. I am the startup resource manager. I am a community thought strategist. I am a food systems collaborator. I am an auntie, and I am a traveler. I considered putting pictures of my niece and nephew up here, but my niece is a teen now, so she wanted to be a vibe. A little about the DC. So more and more you're going to hear about the DC. It is not Washington, DC. It is the Development Cooperative. It is a part of NCG. And what do we do? All day, every day, we are invested in startup food co-op education. We work very, very closely with FCI, building the tools, building the resources. How can we strengthen this process? Because we get it. It's not the easiest process, but we want to make it as streamlined, as much of a process as possible. The DC also provides startup readiness, support, and guidance, and it partners with industry leaders for startup success. So let's jump in. So I like to think, essentially, where I started with this is I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, when you decide where you want to live next, you don't necessarily know which wallpaper you're going to use in the house, but you might say, well, I know this location or the size of where I want to be or something kind of around that. I've been thinking of it lately because in my dreams, I live in a villa in Portugal. In reality, I'm here in North Carolina, where it's 40 degrees today and it'll probably be 80 degrees tomorrow. I don't know what my villa looks like. I know I'll have a room with wine and a room with cured meats, but I don't know where it is. We're doing really the same thing in a business concept because in order to end here with your bountiful vegetables, you have to begin here. You've got to put the seeds in, you've got to let them grow. I'm seeing you're ending here in this stage 5, and you have this beautiful co op, and people are coming and shopping. But you have to start with essentially what we're calling your living room conversations. These are the ones where you're kind of bouncing your idea off of people. Like, so we know what we want. We know we want a co op, which is a call that I often receive. We want a co op. What do we do? Well, why? That's always my question. So you want this thing. Did you Google it? Like what landed you in a co-op? Because in order to end with this, a community-owned grocery store, you have to start with this. Genuinely people sitting around at a table and saying, so we're going to do this thing. And maybe you've seen it and maybe you haven't, but we're going to come together and say we need it. And then we're going to find the group that can help us build it. And then we're going to find the funders that can help us open it. And then we're going to find the people that are going to shop there. But before you start any of that paperwork and before you start any of the big reports, the ones that you're paying tens of thousands of dollars for, you're going to come to FCI and you're going to come to me at the DC, and we're both going to ask you why. What are you doing? So instead of just the empty of the why, I'm going to also say, what's your business concept? So when I say business concept, map it just a bit. I'm looking at your business concept is before your market study and before your pro forma and before your business plan. I really want to stress this is not your business plan. This is your business concept. So, like I
Thank
said,
you.
I want to move to Portugal.
Are you okay?
Oh, perfect. I want to move to Portugal. I want to have my rooms, but that's my concept. My plan, how I'm going to get the money, what am I going to do when I get there? Not just exist in these empty rooms. I need your concept of why you're doing this. So, what exactly is this concept? Your business concept, it's your early stage. I'm talking early in the process. So, it provides strategic clarity. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's going to tell me the who and the what and the where and the why and your scalability. So we know we want this thing. How are you going to get down to your business plan? It does work parallel with your pre-feasibility. So we're going to base it off of some information. It's not just, hey, we know we like this thing. You're basing it off of information. This is also the vision of your community. It might seem simple in the very beginning. We know we've got about 50 people that want this co-op. What is your whole community going to want? What are we going to ground ourselves in? And how are we going to build this vision? I will say your business concept, it's just a snapshot, very brief, and it's pretty flexible. So it can change throughout. The difference, your business plan is longer, it's more rigid, it's more detailed. Your pro forma is more focused on your financial projections, your statements, your futures. Your market study, that's your data-driven analysis. So it's going to talk about your market segment. It's going to have industry trends. It's going to have potential risks. It's going to have competition. It's going to have your competition. Your business concept is just saying, we know we want this thing. We know we want a co-op, and we know that we want it for these reasons. The community's coming together and we want it for this reason. So what type of information are you looking for in a business concept? It's essentially kind of your rough draft. So For instance, we're going to talk about your community mission and vision. So, your co op overview, just a brief description. So, we're talking super high level. We know that we want to co op. We know that we wanted to do this. This is the reason why we're doing this. Your mission statement. Why does this exist? So, we're talking about a clear, concise, here's our community impact. Here's our long-term impact. This is what we're looking for, but a very high level. We're talking living room conversation here. We also want to know your market snapshot. So we're going to dig. We are asking for some strategic clarity in the beginning. So more than just saying, we want a co-op. What do you know about the market so far? So everything from, well, I know that about 3 miles from where we are, they're probably going to build an Aldi. I know that we're probably anticipating a community that is going to live in these new apartments that are coming up. We want to know, who are your key competitors, or what are the alternatives? So if your competitor is another grocery store, maybe your competitor is a Sheetz, which has a pretty good grocery section. Or maybe your competitor is something huge. Is your competitor a Walmart? How are people getting there? Because that's really going to change how you're going to go in the direction of, well, a co-op, you've got to change habits now. People are used to driving that 20 minutes. People are used to getting a product that's just not as good of a quality. So we want to know. We also want to know your community is considering that. So you're looking around, and this is going to be a better conversation because you know what you're going to be up against. We also want to know things like your capital assumptions. So just the overall concept, very high level, what are your big picture assumptions? Do you know how much money you're going to need? Get used to saying million. Get very used to saying million. These are not $1,000 projects or tens of $1,000 projects. These are millions of dollars. Where is that money going to come from right now and in the future? We want this all in the concept very early. So not long after you say, yes, we know that we want to co-op. How is this going to happen? Doesn't have to be detailed. We want to know you're thinking about it. So that's just a little of what's in the template. I do want to show you some differences when we talk about a business concept versus when we talk about a business plan. For instance, your mission statement. Your business concept may say something like, we aim to create a community-owned grocery store that increases fresh food access in our under-resourced neighborhood. Okay, so it makes sense. You're taking a good snapshot. Why do we want this to happen? Your business plan may say something closer to, the co-op will operate a 2,800 square foot grocery store that offers fresh produce and locally prepared, ready-to-eat meals with a bulk goods section. The goal of the co-op is to increase fresh, local food access within a 5-mile radius of the store's location. You're giving me a snapshot. You're giving me some detail. So your business plan is telling me how big this place is going to be, what your radius is going to be. It's giving me a little bit of a glimpse of what are you expecting that people are going to come here for as opposed to your competitors. They're coming in here. You've got bulk goods. You're looking for some fresh produce. You're looking for prepared foods. Okay. Versus your concept, I just need to know, what's your why? So that when it gets hard, oh, we're doing this. Okay. We're doing this community-owned grocery store because we're trying to increase access. This, I will say in all honesty, is also helpful in a store build out. So that when the community says, oh, we want all of these other things attached to it, we are building fresh food access. Who do we partner with to get these other aspects of what you're trying to build? Who do we talk to? Let's get those conversations going so that early in this pre-feasibility, as we're speaking to the community, we can say, we're going to do the groceries. Can you do this other portion? Let's do another difference. Target market. Your business concept may say, the neighborhood is under-resourced with limited access to fresh food and a strong community interest in the food co-op business model. Okay. Brief, simple. Yeah. Your business plan may say something like, the primary trade area for this cooperative includes 19,700 residents, with 71% expressing interest in shopping at a food cooperative. This area is currently served by two small format grocers and no full service grocery store within 2.4 miles. That detail is different. Take a second. I'm just asking for your concept. We're not getting into your plan yet. So, one is, this is what we want, and we know our why. This is our target market. We're looking for people that are looking for more fresh food, and we know that we have the interest. Your plan, now based on data, based on who is in your market area, who's in your trade area. You're giving me numbers now. So I know about how many residents are here. And it looks like maybe you've done a survey or two. Maybe you've had a couple community meetings. You've gauged interest in the area, and you also know your competition. I see some numbers in here. I see some distance. I see some mileage. That's your plan. I'm still in the concept. So before we get started, before we start spending money on the reports, I'm still asking, what's your why? Who's shopping in this co-op? Let's talk about it. Because when you're talking about this is our mission and this is our purpose, we're also talking about who else is going to be a part of your mission and your purpose. One more example, a financial snapshot. So your business concept may say something like, we anticipate the need for significant startup capital with plans to explore a mixture of owner loans, owner equity, and grants. So I will say a question that I always ask people is, where are you getting this money from? It gives me a good idea of, I mean, I wish there were a money tree. Please, if you find it, shake it a little for me. I will send you my mailing address, but I don't know that that exists. But it lets me know that you're moving past just we want this thing, but we've had a pre-feasibility study. So we're investing a little in how feasible is this going to be and the market that we're looking at, the way that we're planning on doing it. We know our competition. We know we're going to need some money. So we did a little research, and I'm thinking we're probably going to do a mix of some loans and some equity and some grants. Okay. Now, a business plan might say something similar to, the complete startup cost is projected to be $3.6 million, including $2.4 million in store build out with equipment, 700, sorry, that should say 700,000 in working capital, and 500,000 in inventory. Funding will include $2.2 million in loans, $600,000 in owner equity, apologize for that, and 800,000 in grants. Without all of the mistakes in the business plan, you see the difference in the business plan. So here we're talking about, not only do you have an idea of how much this is going to cost, and this is after you had your feasibility, your market study, your pro forma. You've been talking to some people. We're looking at sources and uses. We're looking at who's going to do this work, how we're going to make it happen. Here's a better definition. I'm asking for your business concept. So before you get all the way down the road, this again is your why. So I'm focusing on, what are we doing before we get down to all of these numbers? So why, right? Why not just move towards your business plan, move fast? We know that it takes a while. I get it. So essentially, the biggest part of this, even in developing a template, was to really look out for the common pitfalls that we're seeing with startups. It's not just one or two, but overall, it really is. Ideally, we want to prevent a site attachment prior to that market validation. I don't want you to get attached to something and you're like, it would be perfect on this corner, and they just put a for sale sign up here. And I just know I would love to go to a grocery store because it's right down the street and the school is over here and everybody would go. Love it. what does the market say? We need to know your store is viable in this area and you're thinking about everything around it. I know it would be great on the corner. Is there a parking lot near there? Who's going to go to this location when you're talking about your competition is down the street? So before you get attached to that site, we need to make sure you've thought about how are you getting the money? Who are your competitors? What are we looking at in this area prior to saying, okay, wait a minute, let's think about a few. We also want to prevent undercapitalized projects. So understand where your money is coming from. Do the research before the numbers. I would love to say one grant will fund an entire co-op, the length of all the work. I would love to say owner equity will get you millions of dollars. I would love to, but I can't. I hate to, I would hate to see an undercapitalized project because the projections were just too low and the strategic planning happened too late in the game. Instead, let's start thinking about where will this money come from? How much does this cost? Who do we need to talk to understand more of what we're truly looking to do? Also want to prevent confusion within your co-op governance. It might sound light, but it's not. Following the FCI framework, your board is voting you through the stages. So understanding early in the stages, this is our why. People are people, everybody's working, common ground, but everybody needs to understand when it comes down to it, you've got this document to say, wait a minute, I know this seems crazy. I know that you really love this site, but the data just doesn't show it. When it gets contentious and it's like, but I would shop there all the time. Let's pull it back. What's our why? Let's remember why we're doing this. Yes, it's close to your house. And yes, it's right by the school, but the data already shows they actually have a store inside the school. Let's talk about what is the reason we're doing this. We want access to fresh food in our neighborhood that is under-resourced. So in order to hopefully reduce, if not completely remove that confusion, we definitely want to, if nothing else, try to avoid that pitfall. And we also want to, if we can, avoid overestimating sales. We do see it, unfortunately. It does come to a point where people will say, well, we have this site because we know it's going to work there. And the market study may or may not say it. And we got all the numbers back, but yeah, they said probably 2.5 million. We actually think it's probably going to be 5 because I'm going to shop there all the time. No. What does it say you're actually going to do? Let's start that strategic planning earlier. Not once you get the reports, not once you have to talk to whoever did your reports and say, I think you're wrong. Can you just do it again? But you're thinking about it before it even gets started. You're in the front saying, all right, y'all. So we might have to consider maybe 2 or 3 sites. And what would determine it? So site A versus site B, well, we know that we're going to have to keep a lot of things running. So it's not just how much are we selling, but it's how much are we paying our employees? Is like our competition's going to get tough. Who are we connecting with? So ideally, if nothing else, we want to prevent a lot, if not all of these potential issues. So it's important in building this. With everything we do, we have to start with clarity. Given the gaps that we identified, essentially, it's important to us that we can share this before you come to the stage of saying, I have a business plan, and I know this business plan is going to be great, but we don't super understand it. And then I come to you and say, so what's your why? Because I see that your board doesn't super agree on this site over this one. And so who's your competition? Because it's really hard to compete with certain entities, if we're honest. We all shop. And also, yeah, numbers they're hard to go against, and they're not always right. You know that. You're in your neighborhood. They're not always right. But so, in order to make this happen, we built the template. The reasons of many, we wanted to anchor this in the close of stage one. Now, mind you, you can do a business concept at any point. At any point, you say, you know what, let's pull back a little bit, let's figure out our why. We can definitely have this right there. We also want to pull the strategic thinking forward in the startup organizing process, which is why I'm excited that we're having this day of talking about the importance of the concept because it has to happen before your plan. And it's also important to us that we're sharing this freely, which is why we're doing this on the FCI Live so that people can look and they can say, okay, this is cool. You don't have to pay, it's not behind a paywall. We want people to use this template. We want you to have that high level view. We want to help put the pieces together so that it makes sense. The biggest, I will say, conversation that I have with a lot of startup organizers is one, have you read the reports that you paid for? These reports are not free. So have you read your market study? Have you read your pro forma? Have you read your sources and uses all the way through? Are you understanding? And then once it gets exciting, because I will say in every organization that I've worked with, there's this point of excitement where you're like, oh my gosh, the news came, local government came, someone came, the community is excited. We want to add all of this other stuff on here. I get a little scared because to me, that's like your house is almost done. We're painting the walls. You're about to move in furniture and you say, hey, wait. Can I have like a bedroom and maybe a pool in the back and, 2 cars, maybe like a 4-car garage? Like, how much does that cost? And that's when I have to look at you and say, why are you building this house? Are you building it because you want the biggest house in the world? Are you somehow going to create land for all of these new parts to go to? Or are you doing this because you want a place to live that is sufficient for yourself, your family, and your future? I'm going to ask you the same thing in the startup phase of your co op. What is your why? What is the concept of your business? Not necessarily the plan. I'm focused on your concept. What is your why? And I promise this is not just paperwork. As someone that does much paperwork, this is not just paperwork. This is positioning. It's genuine positioning. So you're building that internal alignment. You're hopefully preventing unrealistic expectations. You're positioning yourself and your co-op as investable. You're able to begin forming that conversation, not just with your funders, with your TA providers, with your community. So when people say, so like, what is this co-op thing you're doing? Like, I've never heard of a co-op, or I haven't seen a grocery co-op, or how are you even going to make this work? We've got other things. We'll be fine. You're positioning yourself as investable. You're preparing for conversations with your stakeholders, and you're creating a more structured thinking. So, early stage clarity matters more than speed. I cannot stress that enough. It is huge. I know you want to move fast, but the more clarity you can have in the very beginning, as early as possible, even in that living room conversation when you're sitting there and you're like, so y'all, what are we doing? And is this what we want to do? Before you spend all the money on the reporting and all the things, look at the numbers. We got our pre-feasibility. Let's fill out this business concept. Does it make sense? I think so. Okay, let's move forward. Move forward as your organizers, move forward as your board, move forward as a community. Share it, come together, change it as things change. So if you go in for one site and you're like, we can't afford that one or it's no longer available, still look at it. Come back to what's your mission What's your purpose? Now let's go to this other site. You've done the work. You've done that early strategic conversation so that now it's easier. And even having those later conversations. So when you're talking to someone, you're talking to a funder about this is your investment, you're talking to the local healthcare organization to say, we have the food. Can you be part of the medicine together? This is community health. Well, why are you doing this? Well, we started with the concept of really, we just wanted fresh food. And now we've developed into this business plan. But without it, you're spending so much time without the strength of that clarity and that conversation. You owe it to yourself and to the community to make it happen. So, if you'd like a copy of the template, I didn't do it on here because I didn't want to just be super duper mundane and just go through a bunch of like scrolling and all of those things. But if you would like a copy of the template, email me. Send me an email. I will send it to you. I am more than excited to get it out in the ecosystem, in the universe. Share it with people. Let people know this is happening. We have another tool in the startup process that is going to make this stronger. And I'm so, so excited. Learn more about the business concept. Ask questions. If you're like, this seemed like it might make sense, but we're going to go ahead and move through. Okay. If you say, Allanah, why did you spend any time putting this together? Like, if you're going to put some time into it, then I'll hear you out. How useful is this? Take it, fill it in, email me. Let's set up a conversation. I would love to go over concepts. So that's me. Feel free to hop in, ask questions, and fill out your business concept template.
Now, if you prefer everyone to email you, I'm good with that. But if you want, everyone could who wants it could throw their email in the chat and we could send you the email list. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So go ahead and put your email address in the chat if you don't want to have to remember to email Allanah. Either way is
Yes.
fine. You can email her direct, or you can just put your email address in the chat and we'll collect those and give it to Allanah. But just so you all know, we don't ever share your data information as a registrant with anyone. So you have to say, I want this and put your email in the chat. Otherwise, we won't give her your email address. Thank you. I see them showing up. We will get those
I'm
collected and
excited.
over to you. So, comments, questions. I saw a lot of this is right on time in the chat.
Yay.
What what thoughts, questions do folks have? Please go ahead and throw them in the chat. Andrew, we've got a hand up. Are you good with unmuting, Allanah?
Yes.
All right, Sean, let's hear it. Oh,
All right, hold on one second.
here you go. Oh,
I came in at the tail end of this, but this sounds like it's right on time, especially we just had a conversation with JQ about this. So I'm excited to learn more about what it is that you do because we are at that juncture where it's like you said at the beginning, well, like you said when you said we had our sights on this one particular part, and now it's a grocery store and it's not ours. And
mhm.
so we're like, okay, but are we still going forward? Because they're not servicing the needs that we want to service, right? And so yes, yes, and yes to do we want and do we need? Yes and yes. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's with organizers, with startups, for startups that we build. It's listening to people, what needs to happen. It's talking very closely with FCI. None of this work could happen without their work and essentially saying, so if I build a template, would it be helpful? Because I mean, you pay lots of money and it's lots of sweat equity and lots of time. So if we provide further clarity, just further up the road, would it be helpful? So yes, thank you. All feedback is welcome.
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So do you help create a survey for us to be able to dispersed to the community so that we can ask those right questions and collect the data, because we've done that, but we're not consistent with doing it. And that's our goal for this year, is to get out there and then, and talk about. So yes, people are asking us, what are you guys doing? What's going to happen? And, and we do, what is a co-op? We get that all the time. And we're not consistent with our answer. We try to give them a visual of what it could be, but still they don't understand, okay, but where is it going to be and when? And that's the hard part, is we need you to help us, build this to bring it to fruition. So is that something that you guys do?
So I'm staring at JQ because I know FCI does a lot of this work. So I'm gonna let JQ answer that, and
Only
I'll tag
because right
along.
now, we're so excited about the work that Allanah is doing with the development cooperative. She may forgive me for saying corporate there. Um, to work directly with startups, and it's kind of a new space in that we do know they're putting a ton of focus and brilliant focus on the business development end, and we've been doing the community organizing part a little bit longer, and it's kind of a mix. Your question. I would say that first off, please don't miss, or at least watch the recording of Dr. Angela Sales' session tomorrow on building trust, because what she's going to talk about is like kind of that. Like she's like, we have to build the conditions to cooperate, and people don't know what a co-op is. People don't know. People have seen projects fail before. So how do we talk and share a vision that makes people go, oh, okay, with our communities, and how do we build that? And I think some of what you said there was like, that sounds like exactly what Dr. Angela Sales is going to talk about with building trust as one of the resources in the trust. And so there's the 5 resources of co-op development, and trust is the new one. And it really actually was Dr. Angela Sales' concept that she generously donated. She was like, here, I have this concept, put it in your framework. And we're like, get on the editor team and write it. So she's really the
Yes.
founder of the concept. So I think you're going to find what she has to say super, super helpful. And I think that I can't speak to what Allanah can and can't do with you, but so I'll leave that there. But I think the 3 of us actually could talk, because we talked about what your co-op is up against, and I think that if we can just get Allanah on the same page, there's a lot of pieces that she could also help with.
Yes. Oh, I'd love to.
Thank you. And so anyone heard me just talk about the SI Lives Trust as a resource. If you're watching this video, go find Trust as a resource. And if
Yes.
you're here live, Mercedes from our team just put the link to that session, and it's tomorrow. So that's the one we're talking about. And it's about some people like, oh, trust. That's a nice idea. Trust is at the root of whether your co-op will actually even get formed, much less if it will open and stay open. And so it's a powerful concept. Come check it out.
It's gonna
Other
be a good
comments,
one.
questions? Yeah, Sean, reach out to both of us. Or you can just email me, and
Yes.
I'll CC Ilana in, and we'll continue the convo.
And I just wanted to say thank you. I sent you an email already, Allanah, but I participated in the up and coming in your session, and it always helps to hear the history. And obviously, we all have to have the story at least similar. It's not always going to be straight because I'm working with a smaller board. We each have a very similar but different concept idea. I think we're going to make something happen. It's just who knows what, how, when. So we're still in some excitement phase, but I've helped get other businesses started and worked on our own business plan and pro forma without help of we have associations in what the industry I was in, but nothing is cooperative. It's, it all has a price tag. And so, and a lot of time because you have to talk about it and think about it when it's just you and 1 or 2 other people. So having this collective to make decisions can be cumbersome, but having this data and being able to explain to people how and why you're able to say with confidence as opposed to with boldness, you really got to have both, but it's very different to really put a model in place and start buying things and filling out everything is like purchased and yeah, it's a very different ride. So you want to be sure what you're doing and the modeling one time is hard to do. So if this is a template, that sounds to me like more than once we can do this. So that's really helpful because we're waiting on a grant for 8 months and there's not
Yep.
really a whole lot we can do other than wait for a grant for another 8 months, unless we're
Yeah.
really willing to do some, capital stuff, which might have to happen too. So I'm curious to talk with you. I want to set time, but I just want to thank you all and I'm seeing familiar faces. So I
Hey,
appreciate it.
of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Alana, I wonder if that brings up a question
Mm.
that some groups that are further along that might be listening. They're like, oh, okay, but we're already working on the business plan. Is there still value in boiling that down to a business concept? And yes or no, why?
Yes. To me, it's always helpful. One, it it never hurts to have a strong conversation. In forming a co-op, it's not just I'm going to talk to this bank and this builder and then we're going to get up and running. No. I always pull people back, especially because we are working in an industry that's really talking about social impact. So we're not just handing you something and saying, go build this thing. And when you build it, everybody's going to be there. So to me, I think it's important to always have the business concept and you can always, update it and say, hey, I also didn't realize that, food can be an anchor in our community for so many other things to happen. So the same way you have a mall, you have your anchor store, your grocery store can be an anchor for a lot of other social impact to happen. So I would say, yes, you can have your business plan. You can have, your pro forma, like all of your studies, all of that, but it's the foundation of it. So it's the same, let's go back to building a house. It's like, yeah, you've got this house, but what does the foundation look like? Are there cracks in it? Maybe you're not completely built. Cool. But you can always go back in and be like, let's level this off. Let's see exactly where you're coming from. Because, like I said, you get attached, you get excited, all of these things happen. I feel like I've probably seen an eighth of what JQ has seen, but understanding when the site doesn't pan out the way you want to, it's defeating. It's hard because you start to fall in love and it feels real. And you're like, oh my gosh, just like Sean said, you're like, oh, this is gonna happen. And you're like, dang, are you serious? Like it's the grief of it. So returning back to, do we just quit this? Because this feels hard. No, we can't quit because we know we need to do this, but sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. So having that return, not just for your organizers, for your board, for your community, when they say, dang, I thought we were going to be right there. We did too. We absolutely did too. But remember our mission for even starting this work. We know we are doing this because we are getting fresh food. We don't have the resources that we know that we need as a community. So let's pull it back a little bit. We didn't say we're going to have a 3,200 square foot place. We said we want a community owned grocery store. So maybe not 32, maybe 28, maybe 34, because it's not the number we're stuck on, it's the concept. So it's the same as saying, I'm going to get a license and I want to drive a Ferrari. Cool. You don't have Ferrari money, but you're going to get a car and you're going to build up to it. And maybe there are no Ferraris in the lot and you can't afford it, but you're going to leave today with a car. So, yes, at any stage, truly, I want to pull the strategic thinking early in the process. Don't get strategic super late because the later you get, the more expensive it also becomes. But at any point, you can come in and say, hold on for just a second. Why are we doing this work? The nuts and bolts, the simplicity of it, it can happen at any stage at all. Mark it up, add other things. This is the first draft essentially of this template. As I was telling JQ, this is I know we need a template somewhere in here just to start having those questions. Because come to me and I'm going to ask you these questions. Well, where are you going to get the money from?
Hmm.
We're gonna raise it. Where? It's different. You speak to an endowment differently than you speak to your neighbor. So where are you going to get the money? How are you going to get the money? Labor costs are going up, construction costs are going up. You can have those conversations at any point. I think it's so important to always write down your why. Write down your skeleton even as you build. Give yourself something to return to and give yourself something also that you can refer your community back to. We started here. We're going to go right back here and we're going to keep building. Yeah.
Excellent. We got another question here. Yeah. And I was kind of a trick question. I knew you'd have a good answer is because, right, like it's still valuable because someone has said it before, like sometimes my board mostly has the same vision. Maybe I'm dating myself, but if you think of the parable of the three people with blindfolds on who are put on different parts of the elephant, told to touch it, I've seen this with boards all the time. It's what humans do. And so then we're describing what we're doing to the community. It's that lack of clarity, right? It's that unclearness. When you say, this is who we exist, this is what we want to do for who, our reason, and we believe it will look like this, a grocery store that at least does this and this. And you have that nice and consistent and clear. And again,
Mhm.
like Alana pointed out, when people go, what we should really do is add an outdoor theater to the front. You go, that is a brilliant idea. We need to accomplish this, and if there's leftover money, ha ha ha. Um, but also then when we're doing that, when we get open and things are going even better than we expected, then maybe we can discuss that. But it keeps us focused. And we do see people lose focus in stage three. And it's where they're like everyone's throwing options at them now because it seems like it's gonna really happen. So but I want to get to this question because I think it's a good one. William asked, does the template work by having so this is about how to use it, by having individual stakeholders complete it and then bring it all together, or is this better completed as a group activity?
Both and
I was gonna say the
quite
same.
honestly. Yeah. I think one, how did your group work together? Is it, I'm in a past life, not so past, and me being, like the organizer, the DI manager coming together and really talking about how do groups work. Some groups work very well saying, let's put this together. Other people, they can really catch their vibe based on group thought. So if
Mhm.
you're one of those groups where the person that seems to know lots about the thing says it and everybody's like, yep, that, you're really creating one person's plan. But if your group can come together and let's say you're like, hey y'all, let's go meet at the place for dinner and I want everybody to sit and fill this out maybe for the next 15, 20 minutes and then we're going to go round robin and we're going to go through each one. So just like you said, you can say, "Hey, let's talk about the mission. Why are we doing it?" And someone might say, I want to build a community-owned grocery store because there need to be more local jobs." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And the next person can say, "Because I want more opportunities for local food entrepreneurs." Oh, well, those weren't the jobs I was thinking, but yes, jobs. The other
Mhm.
person can say, we just need a better selection of produce. So, individually and collectively, if your group works well together and you can share those ideas and say, okay, I hear all of this, and now we're going to make a concise statement. But if it is a group, I don't think it's bad to say, here's your homework. We're all going to fill this out. And then we're all going to have this time where we come together and we're going to talk about where are we getting this money from. We're going to talk about what's our market look like. We're going to talk about our target audience because everybody also, 12 people can see the same incident and give you 12 different stories. So I say it's a
And
both
I
and.
like using it that way. It's something we do with other surveys and tools that we have is we say, because it's easy for one voice to just get lost or for someone to get swept up in. And so like we'll usually tell you if you're gonna do it as a board, go home and do it individually. And even if like some of the questions on Alana's sheet, you will see like you might go, I don't know the answer to that. That's okay. Fill out what you know and put a big question mark where you don't know. And then when you get together and say, okay, what did we all come up with? First off, you might find we all had question marks on this one. That's where we need to focus. We need answers, right? Here, this one's interesting. We all agreed except for JQ. JQ, what is that about? And well, I actually meant the same thing, or no, I completely disagree with y'all. But it's a really useful process to hear yourself first and then come collectively hear each other and where the question marks are tell you what work there is to do. Now, Sean did ask you, and I want to make sure we have time for this, Alana. She added a question about, so are you saying do this with your board or do it with the community? And I think this is a board tool because of the type of questions, but I wanted what you think.
So it's created with your board in mind.
Okay.
So these are your people that are going to be in front of your community meetings, in front of your stakeholders, kind of in front of the conversation. But also, if the questions are good, I don't think it's bad to ask your community. So, if it feels suitable to say, hey, community, what's your vision? You seem kind of jazzed by this idea. We're going to start a co op. These things are going to happen. What's your vision of what we're building? What would you like to see happen? Because you can't do this without exactly like JQ said, what Dr. Angela is going to say later. You can't do this without trust. So people are going to like to see themselves in the building, which doesn't often happen when businesses come to town. Lots of people do not say, hey, what would you like to see in here? It's usually, hey, this is here. This is your option. You're going to shop here. So take parts and pieces of it. Now, your community might not be able to say, where's our money going to come from and how much money is this going to cost? But your community might be able to say, I really want to see this be something that we leave to the next generation of our youth. I would really like to see this be in partnership with other projects that are having such a positive community impact. Your community can say those things. And so putting that in there and documenting that as well, maybe not, front and center, but putting a little note on here so that when I'm a super sentimental person, I work a lot with communities. So that little note at the bottom to be like, oh, you know what? People are looking forward to this. People like for when you get excited and you're like, huh, this is happening. And when it gets hard and you're like, is this happening? You still have that. The community, they're down for this. They're also asking. We're not the only ones that are sitting here thinking this isn't going to work. So, yes, your board, your organizing committee, those are the people that are filling it out. But if the questions are good, pull them, ask people, hey, how does this feel? And also this is what we're working on. We're being serious. So it's not just concept for 3 stages. We're asking ourselves the hard questions. Yeah, good question.
All right. Any other questions? There's been good conversations. It always
Oh,
happens with our evening crowd. People are sleepy.
I have a very simple question, which is you mentioned like at the top, you're going to hear me say DC stands for Development Cooperative, right? But then I was trying to find a website and I'm like, wait, and nothing's coming up. So then it seems like it's part based on your email address that it's like part of the National Co-op Grocers. Is that right?
that is correct.
Okay.
Yes. We don't have a website yet. I am hoping that my manager watches this and says, let me go ahead and get a website out here. We don't have one yet, but it is coming. Yes, but we are a part of NCG.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I hope you got that already, but I throw it in there. Okay. All right. Any
Okay.
parting thoughts you want to wrap up with, Alana?
Um, Thank you. Thank you everybody for sitting through it, for listening to being this test case. Use it, feel it out, see what works, see what doesn't. If you don't give feedback to me, give it to my partners at FCI, let them know. Honestly, y'all are the reason we build. You are the way that we build. If it works, if it doesn't, let us know. Give us feedback. I'm super duper excited to unveil this as a template for everybody to use and dig in, and stay tuned as we keep building more tools to hopefully make this process even stronger. Thank you. And thank you to FCI Live as well, and FCI, the fantastic team. Hats off, JQ included, for giving us the space to share and to make sure that we are helping our community. I appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much. It is our absolute pleasure and joy to work with Alana. She is doing such incredible work, and she just getting started in the startup space, so expect to see more. And Again, I'm going to thank her one more time and say, and this is her second session. So if you missed her other session, which was Rooted in Resistance, which talked about the global majority history in the US of food cooperation, please, if you're watching this in video, go find it. It's called Rooted in Resistance. For the rest of y'all, it already happened, but it will be coming out when I send you the link for this video on next time with next Friday, week from Friday. We'll send you the link to all the videos. It'll be in that grouping of videos. So make sure you check that out. I just want to take one more chance to say, I know I keep saying it, but thank you to our sponsors. These aren't just some random sponsors. These are your fellow cooperators and believers in the movement who are working in it every day. And one of the ways they want to contribute to the movement continuing to grow and continuing to become possible for more and more startups is by funding this and making sure it's free to everyone across the country. This is their way of contributing to the education. So thank you all so much for making it possible. As I said, tomorrow we're wrapping up this week. This is week one, though. We got a whole other week coming. But tomorrow, trust is a resource. Rebuilding, I like this phrase, rebuilding the conditions for cooperation. Dr. Angela Sales. She makes a very good point about how we need to rebuild the conditions for cooperation because our society is very much educated to not cooperate. And that's really at the root of building trust as a resource. So you're really going to want to hear what she has to say. And then we also are doing one I'm very excited about called Converting to Co-op, Stories from the Field. Chris Dilley, our Director of Startup Support, will be interviewing and talking with Blackberry Food Co-op, Hudson Grocery, and Tip Top Co-op, all co-ops that recently became co-ops by purchasing an existing business that was otherwise going to close. And so conversions are on the rise. This is happening across the country, especially in rural communities. And please come learn about what's going on with your peers and how they're doing it. And your co-op may find themselves in a position to become a conversion. Hudson wasn't planning on being one and became one. So if you think you're not going to be a conversion, you might want to come learn about the process. And then, of course, please check out everything that's going to be happening next week. We have a whole second week of really great material. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Let me stop recording. Every darn time it hides the record button in a different place.